streaming. You move over to him. A guy has a cut on the inside of his arm. All right, he got cut while he's messing with the inside of the engine while he's conducting maintenance. Right, so he's bleeding. You know it's going to take the medics at least 5 minutes to get there. All right, if you don't do anything about it, you're probably going to lose enough blood where it's going to be serious. Okay, good morning. I'm Clay Bounds. We don't always have the luxury of having a medic right there with us when something happens. So it's important that we understand what to do in case of an injury like bleeding, right? So if you remember these 3 easy steps, you'll be able to handle the situation on your own. You won't have to wait for anybody else. First thing you're going to do is you're going to apply manual pressure, and you're going to make and apply a field dressing, or a field dressing. Second thing you're going to do is elevate the wound, apply a pressure dressing, and a tourniquet if necessary. Third thing you're going to do is continue to monitor the casualty and treat them for shock. All right, like I said, we don't always have the luxury of having a medic personnel there with us at all times, so it's important we understand what to do. All right, first thing I'll talk about is applying pressure and applying and making a field dressing. All right, so keep my hand down. All right, so in this situation, we say that we come upon someone, like we said, and he has an injury to his inside of his arm. Okay, he's bleeding. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is apply pressure to that wound. All right, in this case, it's on his arm, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to apply pressure with my knee to the inside of his arm. All right, I'm going to try to cut off the blood flow between his heart and that wound. Okay, so apply pressure with my knee. First thing I'm going to do. Second thing I'm going to do is I need to make a field dressing. All right, to do this, I don't have anything in my pocket because I'm in the motor pool. But so I'm going to use whatever I have. In this case, I got a shirt. Take my shirt off. I'm going to rip it up into strips. So first thing I do, I'm going to need to get some kind of wadding. So I'm going to use one of those strips. I'm going to apply it over the wound. When you make the strips, you need to get at least 4 or 5 of them. Try to make them at least 4 inches wide. Okay, so the first one, I place it over the wound. I'm going to apply pressure, continuing to leave my knee in his armpit to cut off that circulation. Then I'm going to take another one of those strips. I'm going to wrap it around the wound, trying to cover as much of that wadding as I just placed on there. Okay, keeping this on. All right, once this is done, I'm going to make that knot. All right, I'm not trying to create a tourniquet effect at this point. I'm just trying to cut off the blood flow. Okay, just trying to control bleeding. I'm going to tie that knot on the side of the wound and continue to apply that manual pressure. All right, at this point, I'm going to monitor the casualty. I want to make sure that he is see if he's bleeding or not. If he's still bleeding, I need to move to the next step, which is I'm going to elevate the wound. I'm going to apply a pressure dressing and a tourniquet if necessary. All right, so at this point, it's still bleeding, right? So at this point, I'm going to elevate the wound. I'm going to elevate it higher than the level of the heart. It's going to make it more difficult for the blood to get to that wound. So apply pressure, elevate the wound, still bleeding. At this point, I need to apply a pressure dressing. So pressure dressing is going to be the exact same thing, basically, as a field dressing. All right, except it's going to be a little bit tighter, and I'm going to tie the knot on top of the wound this time. So I take my wadding, just like I did before, place it over the wound, and I begin wrapping around the wound. Like I said, this time it's going to be a little bit tighter, and I'm going to finish with the knot directly on top of the wound. Okay, this time, same thing. I'm not trying to create a tourniquet this time. I'm just trying to reduce the bleeding. All right, so it's still elevated. I'm still applying pressure, if possible, with my knee. All right, I evaluate it again. Is it still bleeding? Yes, it is. So I'll move to the final step of this, which is creating a tourniquet. All right, I've already cut out my strips, so I'm simply going to use one of the strips to make my tourniquet with. I'm going to fold it, creating a loop, making a knot, making sure I leave tails exposed. Okay, I'm going to make it large enough where it slips over that extremity that I'm working on. I'm going to place it between the wound and the heart. Now I'm going to find a stick or something. In this case, I've got a pin in my pocket. I'm going to use that. I'm going to crank it down on this, torquing it down until all the bright red bleeding is stopped from the wound. All right, continue to torque it down. This is the reason why I left the tails on this loop that I made. At this point, I need to secure this so that tourniquet does not loosen up. All right, at this point, I've done everything I can. I applied a field dressing, pressure dressing, a tourniquet, and I'm still continuing to elevate and apply pressure to the wound. At this point, I've done everything I possibly can to stop bleeding. All right, so I'm moving to the third step, which is I'm going to treat for shock, and I'm going to continue to evaluate the casualty for life-threatening conditions. treat for shock, I'm simply going to move the catheter to a shaded area or covered area. All right, if it's hot outside, I'm going to move to the area. I'm going to move to an area that is out of the sun. Okay, if it's cold outside, I'm moving to an area that is out of the elements. All right, I'm then going to lay him on his back or remove all restrictive clothing or loosen all restrictive clothing. This includes his boot, his belt, anything around his sleeves or ankles, anything. I want to make sure the blood flows freely through his body with no restriction. Okay, and finally, I'm going to continue to monitor for life-threatening conditions. All right, this can be anything. It could be he stops breathing, he starts hyperventilating, whatever the case may be. I just want to watch him at all times so when the medics do arrive, I can tell him, update him on what's going on with him. All right, so a wound is time sensitive, right? In some cases, you have less than a minute before he loses enough blood where he can die. And we don't always have the luxury of a medic being right there with us. So it's important that we understand or we know how to control bleeding without having to rely on someone else. It could be the difference between the individual living or dying.